Check,
Can you
check.
hear me, David Lee Scales?
Loud and clear.
Is it, wait, let me put some muffle on here. Does it need the muffle or is it the same diff?
It
Same?
sounds good right now.
Okay. Keep the muffle on then.
All right, Chaz Smith, welcome back to the show. It's February 16th, 2023. It is the Grit.
David Lee Scales, sometimes there are seismic things that happen in surfing that you and I have to address immediately. See the firing of Eric Elo Logan. Sometimes there's things that happen that it's good just to sit back, watch the landscape for a minute, watch the dust clouds, see what's happening, and then for you and I to come weigh in.
You think we would have gotten in trouble if we would have weighed in instantly on Filipe Toledo departing from the CT?
Definitely not. I think my
Okay.
take is exactly the same now as it was then, to be honest. How has your vision on the issue evolved, let's say? Everybody by now knows we are talking about two-time and sitting world champion Filipe Toledo, who I guess must have been less than a week ago because we would have covered it. Or wait, we did weird
we
timing.
recorded. So last week we recorded on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we normally record on Thursday or Friday, and it probably happened on, I think it might have happened on
Friday morning, Thursday afternoon. It definitely happened within that
Saturday.
window. Okay.
Saturday.
So it's been just barely under a week since Filipe Toledo, two-time and reigning world champion, has left the building. Just like Eric Logan, he is no longer with the business and is taking a year off, cited mental health break. But of course, you all know that by now. But has your take evolved over the ensuing 6 days?
No, it's actually, I'd say, it's gotten stronger.
Yeah.
I feel stronger about it because the backlash is so misdirected that I feel a need to restate the obvious to people, you know?
I hear you. I mean, okay, so let me ask you this first. Have you heard backlash or have you gotten any backlash for, I guess, ostensibly bullying Filipe Toledo off tour?
Very little. Very little of it was directed, directly at me. Maybe one or two emails, a couple of comments on Instagram. And that's precisely what they say is like, hey, you guys basically have taken it too far. You guys make fun and it's all fun and games, but people's feelings do get hurt. And in a worst case scenario, people actually do end up committing suicide. Like if they have mental health issues and they're dealing with depression, let's say, poking fun publicly can take its toll. And so my response to all of that is that does happen, and that's unfortunate, but I don't feel personally responsible for Filipe Toledo taking a year off tour. He cited mental health break. He did not cite mental illness. And I think there's a major distinction there. Like you can't equate those two things. We all have mental health that we manage and we take care of in the ways that we need to take care of. Taking time off tour after you've been on the championship tour for 10 years from the age of 17, by the way, is totally reasonable.
Let's be honest though. Is it?
Totally, dude.
It's unreasonable, let's just say. It's unreasonable when you are a two-time and sitting world champion, defending world champion, who is likely going to win your third, right? At lower trestles, it's all but guaranteed. If Filipe Toledo is in the top 5, he will win lower trestles 8 times out of 10. And so it is abnormal for him. If he had had a bad year on tour last year, right? If he had, or say he had won his 2 world titles and then kind of had a shocker, ended up in the middle of the pack somewhere and thought, I gotta reassess here and re-find my love of surfing. Then I think that would be a normal thing for a person to do. What he did was entirely abnormal.
See, I think you're misunderstanding. He's identifying that he has a vulnerability and a weakness, and he will end up having a bad year because of that vulnerability and weakness, and that's worse for his career. It's like identifying an injury early on and be like, man, before I tear this thing completely, I need to rehab it, have an adequate amount of time off, and come back stronger than ever. Because at the age of 27, he still, or I guess 28, he still can.
But I disagree with.
He could take a full year off, come back mentally stronger than ever, and still have years ahead of him at the peak of his prime.
A, I disagree with your Minority Report read here that we're going to identify something in the future that hasn't happened yet, right?
It already
Arrest
happened at Pipe.
we are going to arrest criminals, but he's never done great at pipe, right? I mean, people had sent me a couple like as evidence of Felipe Toledo's lack of fear, of him. I think it might have been a backdoor runner,
Yeah.
that
Like a
he was.
5 footer.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, cool, man. Like, she get barreled at pipe. And nobody ever said the kid cannot get barreled at pipe. The kid can't surf critical pipe. He can't surf critical chopo. Those are two waves that he's never been able to surf critically, nor has he ever cared, right? Like, he has been, and maybe internally the argument could be made, oh, okay, all this was cracking his mental health, or the cracking the health of his mentality. But the like what? He's only ever been defiant. He's only ever been screw you. I owe nobody an explanation. I am a two-time world champion. Daddy, go tell him. You get out there, Ricardo, and you go tell him also that this Toledo family owes nobody nothing, that internet technicians and keyboard warriors and champs on the sofa or whatever he called CJ Hobgood know nothing and are owed no explanation, right? He's been defiant from the get.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's a misstep, but I think the way that it looked to me, okay, and now I am speculating. And by the way, I'm not speculating on his mental health or
Let's,
illness or
but
anything like.
can we say at the outset though here,
Yeah,
mental health break, or using mental health in air quotes, is an overused excuse in this day and age that I think fundamentally undermines people who actually do have mental health issues, right? I think Felipe Toledo, and now I don't know, I'm no psychologist, but Felipe Toledo citing mental health to me is both not only lazy, it's rude.
I agree with the fundamentally undermining aspect, but again, I think there's a distinction between saying I need a mental health break versus I'm taking time off due to mental illness.
I
Like
hear
he's
you.
not diagnosing a specific illness. He's just saying basically, again, I'm speculating. He's saying I'm stressed beyond all get out and it would be inadvisable. Like I'm not going to advance my career by continuing doing, surfing in this event or this season or whatever. I need time off to reassess. And I earlier said that it's reasonable. What I mean by that is if you've spent a decade, the tour is an unreasonable schedule to do for a long period of time. He's been doing it for a decade from a very young age. And in that amount of time has had multiple kids. I think he feels the pressure of wanting to spend time with those kids and develop that family and all that kind of thing. And
Is it though?
dude,
Is it really
a
difficult?
decade at the highest level.
Let's be honest about, sure, you're traveling around the world, for what? Let's say 7 months out of the year.
9.
Uh, it's not okay. Let's say 9 months, but you're home for, and he's ostensibly home for two whole legs of this, right? He's home in San Clemente, and then you could also say he's home in Brazil. Uh, and so let's say you're traveling the world 7 months a year, for, and I
It's more than
don't,
7 though. I mean, and just
but
the
we're saying he's
schedule.
San Clemente home, right? So that's a month. Let's say he's home in Brazil, even though he's abdicated his Brazilianness. Um, but yeah, like I think saying this is like that he's down in the coal mines is ridiculous. This is his job is not taxing. I'm sorry. I am sorry to say it that being a professional surfer is not a taxing career. And his this is tiring was also a lazy excuse for do what you want. He has the Felipe Toledo has the demeanor and thus far has had the track record of I don't owe anybody an explanation. Fine. Don't explain this either. Just take the year off. Who cares? If I
Yeah.
mean, we'll still speculate no matter what. But you throwing and you, Felipe Toledo, throwing half-baked mental health stuff and this is tiring. Pish posh.
I cannot believe I'm defending Felipe Toledo,
I can't
first of
either.
all.
I can't
Um,
either.
but I am because I think that it is important to tease apart. Like nobody said coal mine, first of all. So that
He's not a teacher in the U.S. or yeah, a
totally
school district. He is
you
not a policeman. He's not a construction worker. He's not doing anything difficult. Like, let's be
You can name a
very,
million
very frank.
jobs. You can name a million jobs that are more difficult and
I can
also
name
less
every
less
job in the
compensated.
world.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
literally.
A pro surfer is obviously a dream situation, and especially earning millions of dollars is. Despite that, human beings, it's nature to regress to a mean. So you will then, whatever your norm is, becomes your norm. It's hard to factor in somebody else's context. And so, in that, but it also comes with its own stressors. Even earning $1 million comes with its own stressors. You know what I mean? And so, managing all the things that he's managing and having the weight of the world titles and defending a world title comes with stressors. I know nothing about it. All I know is everybody who's ever been in that position will tell you that. So I think that's what Felipe is identifying. And again, what I was going to say is speculating based on what he wrote in his Instagram post and what we saw of him at Pipe. The way that I interpreted it was he was not planning to take this season off.
Yes.
He wasn't planning that going into Pipe. He came off of a huge adrenaline dump of winning a second world title.
Is it that huge though? Let's be honest about that too.
Yes,
Winning it,
for
like,
sure, dude.
I mean, I think that
Getting the greatest thing you've ever wanted to achieve in your life and doing it on the second time, you have to feel amazing.
and lion chest pounding all about it all the way, except for as well as anyone that it's devalued. I mean, everyone
Yeah, of
knows it.
course.
You
Of
can say
course.
that it's not, but you just won. It'd be like training your whole, and I don't even need to make an analogy here. Everybody knows it is not the real world tour. It is not a real world champion. Like the World Surf League completely devalued what that means. Everybody knows it. Filipe Toledo could say, no, I played, and all the people would say, no, he played by the rules. He won by the rules. As if, again, I've said this before, the World Surf League rules were handed to Moses on top of Mount Sinai, along with the Ten Commandments. Like, this is a broken, dumb, idiotic rule thing that was introduced by a broken, dumb, idiotic man, Eric Logan, in order to gin up support for something that's failing. And that's what Filipe Toledo won two of. He won the failing World Surf League title twice.
Look, we're on the same page about that. Go back and play our last 22 episodes, and you have my full agreement with that.
But he
But
knows that too.
yeah, I don't think he does. No, he's
He
living in
does.
Felipe's living in a world of
Sycophants.
yeah, it's an echo chamber, and he's not listening to what we're saying.
For sure not.
But what we're saying broke through that wall of positive noise. And this is where maybe feedback is correct about us, quote, bullying, even though it's not bullying, is the feedback broke through the wall of positive noise. So what I was getting at was coming off of that adrenaline dump, he enjoyed his time off. All of a sudden, the new year is starting. He doesn't go to Hawaii at the same time that everybody else did. We saw them all catching waves at Pipe and the free surfs. He wasn't there. But eventually he shows up for the comp. Turns out it's pumping. He's here to defend his world title. And he's faced with his old and greatest foe, which is big, scary waves. So he paddles out and he's not prepared for it. So he gets a 1 point whatever, goes back in.
1.77.
Yeah, 1.77 heat total for the first heat. Then he's sitting on the beach going, I'm not prepared. Like, I don't want to go out there. I'm not prepared for this. You know what? I'm just going to call in sick. Calls in sick, and boom, the internet lights up, and we broke through the wall of positive noise. And I think at that point, so then they had a couple lay days. Then when he posted on Instagram that he was taking time off, he said specifically, over the last couple of days, I've discussed this a lot with my loved ones, meaning it wasn't a conversation that they were having leading into the Pipe event. It was between his failure at Pipe until he posted that Instagram is when this conversation started happening. So I think that's where he got in his own head. And he probably thought, look, I want to be able to perform at the highest level. I clearly can't here. I'm seeing these girls, by the way, the girl event happened, in that amount of time. And he's seeing these girls are smoking me.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and by the way, sunset starts tomorrow. I don't think I'm prepped for sunset if I'm really going to be honest. But you know what I did enjoy? The summer off with my family. And my kid needs my attention in this moment right now. I think I should probably devote some time to my kid, you know? And so that's where I think it is all reasonable to take time off when you're at his stage in life, when you've accomplished what he's accomplished, rather than trying to overextend yourself, selling your family short, selling your competitors short by not giving them your best, and then putting in a half-baked performance and having to suss it out at the end of the year. I think he identified correctly. I've got a problem here. I need to address the problem. Let them have this season. I'll come back next season stronger.
I mean, I hear you for an average guy to make that decision who, like an average rich guy who has a job that he doesn't need, has enough money in the bank, could say, you know what? Life is getting a little stressy here. Let's pump the brakes and just take it easy. You know who doesn't do that? And I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. I'm just saying champions don't do that. Look at Kelly Slater's relationship with his daughter, for example, right? Like you never even heard of his daughter until way later. And I think it was, let's hope it's all mended now, but I think he was entirely an absentee father for her entire life. And he's a champion. Like I think, and I'm again, hear me, dear listener, I'm not saying that is preferable to being a nice family man, but Filipe Toledo wants his cake and wants to eat it too, which in this case, I think you just can't. You're either a champion and have the DNA of a champion, which he doesn't, and that's fine. Unless I guess he will be like the only good story or outcome of this story I see is that he goes and he secretly trains hard for Chopu instead of denying that he's only ever denied that he has a problem out there. Like only Papa Toledo came out and said he's scared of hitting the reef. That's the only mention we've ever heard of that. Felipe has never said that. Felipe should go conquer those fears, show up at Chopu for the Olympics. Boom. I mean, we've been saying this forever. This is, or for a while, best sporting story, definitely of the year, probably of the decade, maybe ever. Miracle on ice.
He said he's hiring Matahi Drole to prep for Chopu.
Oh, when?
I don't know. Scott Bass told me. I did not see it, but he said that somewhere.
Okay. Well, sweet.
So,
I mean, if he
we'll
actually
see.
does that,
yeah.
If he does that, if he takes this year off, if he says, look at, I mean, which would have been a far greater, I would have loved and praised his statement. If he would have come out of pipe and said, look, the world saw my shortcomings. I had to look in the mirror and recognize them myself. Have the privilege of my sponsors and the World Surf League kicking me imagine that, by the way, too. Who doesn't get his next year wild card?
Who doesn't?
Somebody doesn't. He got a season-long wild card next year for being a sissy. So that means somebody is not getting it who was injured which is, that's a story for another time. But for this time, if he said, look, the World Surf League is going to give me my sissy wild card. My sponsors are backing this move. I am going to go train in the thing that I am bad at. I'm going to be dark. I'm going to be offline until the Olympics. You'll see how it goes then. So will I.
Yeah.
Boom. Goodbye.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm not convinced that he will conquer his fears at Chopu, even by hiring Matahi Drole. Like whatever is between his ears that is preventing him from kind of conquering that fear. I don't think Matahi can teach him how to surf Chopu. You know what I mean? But he's not like a sports psychologist that can help him break down whatever but I think having this time off will at least allow him to reassess what's going on in his life. But the conversation about Kelly Slater doing what Kelly Slater's done is such an anomaly. You know what I mean? Like that is absurd that Kelly's able to stay on tour for as long as he has. Nobody will be held to that standard, or nobody will be able to achieve that in the future. And in fact, it's probably entirely unhealthy what Kelly's
for
done.
sure it's unhealthy. I'm going to say that, like, I was taking this across sport. I was going to say champions of anything, Tom Brady to Mike Tyson to whoever. Champions are probably rotten people. You got to be narcissistic because you only have to be concerned about yourself and your training and you're getting the best stuff, right? Like there's all of these problems. But if you want to be a champion, that's the cost of being a champion. I would say, of course, there's anomalies, but the cost of being a champion is by and large, you are a bad person, a bad father, a bad husband, a bad wife, a bad everything.
Yeah. And I think Felipe's trying to shake that up. I think Felipe's trying to break the mold.
I mean, then yeah, great. You can't. That thing is baked in.
I think for some reason, and you asked me, have I changed my opinion?
Apparently you have.
No, I changed it since before the news broke. But I'm committed to the way I felt when the news broke. And the way that I felt when the news broke was good for you. Like, honestly, be realistic with yourself. Take this time off. You're still going to be at the top of your game at age 29. You know what I mean? Like,
Are
do
you?
you? Yeah, yeah. I
You
think he
think
will
you think
be.
he's, see, I think,
He'll be better, dude. Guarantee if he actually addresses the things that we're talking about, he can come back at 29 better
and
and stronger.
slay. I mean, he
Good.
better learn how to surf at least like comparably big waves. Like, because he doesn't, nobody's expecting Felipe Toledo to be a big wave champion. Nobody's expecting him to go win big surf, right? People are expecting him to give effort. And so I guess if he came back from his year break and gave effort, that would be something.
If he's still surfing small waves and, by the way, J Bay and that sort of stuff with the same level that he is now, but then he's additionally got any
Getting equal
semblance,
17ths.
yeah, any semblance of game at
Yeah.
big barreling waves. Like, it doesn't have to be first place, but just make the round of 16.
Yeah.
It'll be pretty undeniable. But I think all of this points out the obvious, which is that he is the latest victim of Elo's extended ET fingers poo-poo touch. And DJ Seaweed has submitted a new jam for us.
Yes.
You'd have the poo-poo touch. You'd have the poo-poo touch. You got the poo-poo touch. The poo-poo touch is real. He does the poo-poo touch on whoever he feels. Elo's legacy. He did the poo-poo touch, now he's touching me. WSL, did we fail? The champ is bowed out, I wish him well. Surfing seems it's upside down. The girls are boys and the boys are girls now. The poo-poo touch is the touch of poo-poo, 'cause I don't want no chickens and cho-poo. The poo-poo touch, it stinks of poo-poo, 'cause I don't want no final five. The poo-poo touch, it stinks of poo-poo, 'cause I don't want no chickens and cho-poo. The poo-poo touch, touch of poo-poo, 'cause I don't want no final five. No, I wanna see him surf pipe. Yeah.
Round of applause,
This is
DJ Seaweed.
DJ Seaweed. Bravo, bravo, and bravo.
Hit it out of the park. I literally, my eyes are watering because
Yeah.
I was laughing so hard at that. It's so, I mean, the lyrics are genius. It's
They're
beautifully
genius.
executed. The production value could use a little bit of work,
But
but
that's okay. This is
incredible.
the kind of single, though, big record execs here, and they say, sign that man. Get DJ Seaweed on the horn. Sign him up.
Dude, I heard this is now going from hilarious to poignant, but I heard a story one time about the guy who discovered Tracy Chapman.
Yeah.
And I wish I could remember, like, it was on a podcast. I wish I could remember which one so that I could re-listen to it. But, you know, she was at a university. She was a university student playing like coffee house open mic or something like that. And he walked into the back of the room and she was playing, talking about a revolution. And he was just like, the room was dead silent and just awestruck, you know, by her. And he took it to a bunch of music. He worked in the music industry, took it to, I think he was at like Sony or something. And they were all like, he got
Yeah,
his
cool.
demo tape from her. He took it in. They were like, you know, it's all right. It's like folk, but how do we market this? Like, you know, first of all, she's black, but then she's doing folk. And then, like, is she gay? Like, what's going on? I'm not sure where to even put this, how to market it. It doesn't make sense for us. He loved her so much, he left his job. I think he started a record label and then put her on that record label. And of course, it's done what it did, but it was
I
just undeniable, you know,
I
how incredible she was.
I thought you were gonna say then he made her sing a parody song that got sent to a podcast, and then she reached fame.
No, but she's in the news lately, anyways,
Yeah.
because of that Grammy performance, which again, amazing. Anyways, DJ Seaweed is cut from that same cloth. I hope that a record executive hears
Yep.
what he just provided for us here.
Yep.
And
But how true, as like all this, and again, Filipe Toledo, like, it's fun to debate it in the minutes after it's happened. It's fun to discuss it a week after it's happened. it'll be fun in a year after it's happened because hindsight provides like so much more, obviously, depth and of course insight, the whole rigmarole, right? Like we can see now though, Elo's poo-poo touch, his destruction of surfing was so great that it goes like that it continues, and you're exactly right. You pointed it out specifically that Eric Logan physically touched Filipe Toledo. He made him take his shirt off and he put his skin on. He put Felipe's Toledo on skin on, who is like damaged beyond damaged now. Filipe Toledo.
It was only a matter of time. We didn't realize it at the time that that touch actually was going to become a cancer for Felipe.
No,
We
because
thought it was
we didn't
just,
even know the poo poo touch then. We just knew Eric was a flim flammy guy,
yeah,
but I didn't know that everything he touched turned to poo poo at that
no,
time. I
no.
just
I
thought he's
mean,
pretty poo poo, but
well, he became Eric Buffalo Logan at that
yeah,
point, which was amazing in its own right. So I only thought that that was a reflection on Elo. We did not know it was a contaminant that was then going to damage Felipe, and he would end up withdrawing. So
withdrawing.
huge, huge news. And Elo, by the way, who has come out of the shadows finally, in the last week as well. I mean, that's kind of a storyline that we didn't even discuss. Did you write
No,
about that one?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
Okay.
with the Clippers now. He also has a Substack if anybody wants. I haven't put that on the Beach Grit yet. But he has a full on like he's writing now. He writes like inspirational businessy stuff,
Oh,
which
okay.
is utter nonsense. Like it is from oh, can I pull it up here? Let's see. Let me see. I think I have it from in. Okay, here we go. You want me to read you a little bit, David
Yeah,
Liscales?
sure.
Uh, Here we go. From
I'm
insecurity to
apprehensive
insight.
actually. I don't want to be infected by the poo-poo touch.
Well,
Will this contaminate me?
you and I are already contaminated. It might contaminate our listeners.
You know what? I'm on my drinkag1.com/surf, so I'm probably fortified against it.
And those listeners who are not on the program, drink AG1 slash surf,
Dot
get
com
it
slash surf.
.com slash surf, get it today, right now, because you are going to hear some words.
Okay. Push pause, order it. It'll show up soon. Drink it, then push play again.
Exactly. It's like so quick that turnaround there. So, how do you really know if you're ready for a call, a meeting, or anything in business? It's a question I've been asked for years by younger executives and people asking for my advice. Honestly, I'm unsure if you will ever really know if you're ever truly ready. However, one CEO had 3 words for me that changed how I think about meetings and the question of readiness. Uh, I could go on, but this one is huge and there's a ton more of them. Let's
First
just
of all,
get to
there's no way anybody ever asked him,
no,
hey, how do you know you're ready for a call?
no,
There's
nope.
no chance that setup is in any way true.
The whole thing goes so long. It is yeah, but anyway, that's his Eric Logan has a Substack for anybody who wants to look at Eric Logan's Substack.
It sounds like he had a AI write that for him.
I mean, it's like worse than AI. It's in some way like it could be AI. That makes
Well,
sense because I read it and I was like, this is unreadable. Like, I don't even know
yeah,
what you're beginning to try to say.
yeah.
Uh, and then, but yeah, he's poo poo touching. I mean, is poo poo touch, I think, knows poo poo touch out there because for those who don't know, Eric Logan is now doing something like some producing or something of like a side TV thing for the Los Angeles Clippers, who are truly one of, if not the most, I don't think they're but one of the most snake bit teams in all of professional sport, not just basketball, not, in basketball, baseball, football. The Clippers are a notoriously snake bit team who hired Eric Logan to do something. So, man, and the bummer for them is they were riding high. They've been on like, look like they finally put it together. But watch and see. And I guess my only question here is maybe two poo-poos equal a positive. Maybe the Clipper poo-poo and the Logan poo-poo together are going to be like Clippers win, and then Eric goes and wins an Emmy Award for his work.
You know what? The mass public loves terrible content nowadays, terrible music, terrible movies, and those are the ones that are the highest earning. So maybe double
Poo-poo
up on the
touch.
poo poo. So interestingly, talking about the fallout of Felipe from 6 days ago, um, people kind of lashing out saying that people had been bullying him and that's why he withdrew. quote, guru Sam George savages, quote, petty, whiny, constantly complaining, crybaby surf website commenters and full frontal assault. Sam George
Man,
took to the inertia to write an op-ed, I guess, about
yes,
BeachGrit.
a slam. I think so because I don't really know of any other like vociferously what opinionated message boards. Do you? I mean,
Yeah,
Surfer
no.
clearly doesn't have one. Stabs all whatever. I Stabs behind the paywall, so who knows? I go to Stab every once in a while on my sneaky behind the paywall ventures, and yeah, none of their seems like commenters are just like really into Stab in the dark or whatever, right? They're
But
like discussing that stuff.
Sam could have been referencing Stab from 5 years ago, maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't think he is. He's directly talking about BeachGrit.
And Sam is a full-on tool shed, clearly and obviously. And so his opinion doesn't need to be discussed much, except for the fact that I think it does highlight a couple things here. The people, David Lee Scales, the commenters, the listeners, those who participate in the discussion, I think have never had more power than they do at this moment right here. And let's look at some of I mean, it's been leading up, right? I feel that it could be said that the nonstop, let's say, analysis of Eric Logan led to his firing, partially. Like Eric did something that got him fired, but I think he was shaky already. We have Sophie Goldschmidt, who couldn't have gotten out of the room quick enough, and she even took it light. Paul Speaker, gone. Felipe, backward fin Beth, of course, gone. Filipe Toledo, gone. Where the voices of the people now are coming through and are unable to be ignored. Like the fact that Jesse Miley Dyer had to stand, World Surf League chief of sport, had to stand and explain why they canceled that big day of pipe. They would have never done that. The whole World Surf League MO entirely is owe no one an explanation. Keep your mouth
Right.
shut, which is in a way that's a great PR strategy, is never explain, never apologize, head down, keep moving forward. You let the news cycle run out of things to say. And part of the problem with Toledo's news cycle, back to him real quick, is that even when the news cycle on him, on his poor pipe performance, would have gassed out, stinking Papa Toledo was there pouring gas on the
Yeah.
on the dying embers to like rage it back to life. But all to say, everyone now is listening. Like it's undeniable that people are listening to the people at home, which is exactly how it should be. This is a populist uprising in surf, I think, that is great and long overdue. Like, get out of your stinking ivory towers and actually give the people what it's all this is for, is them. Give them what they
Yeah.
want.
So a couple of things. The strategy of just like letting the news cycle take over and not addressing the negativity, it's a good PR strategy for a corporation, but it will not endear your own fans to you.
No, if you're trying to
And
build fans.
exactly. And Felipe Toledo is not an organization. So him kind of if he were to try to live by that same policy, it wouldn't necessarily work the same. But furthermore, the what was the other thing that you said? Oh, Sam George is what I was working towards. It's a total misunderstanding. Like, this isn't all a cacophony of negativity. This
No.
isn't all it's criticism has value. And the fact that we're watching it as closely as we are and having, opinions about it. And maybe he's talking about a few, I don't know, non-critical comments that are purely negative if you just look at those. But when you actually read what's going on, we are super astute, alert fans of the thing, calling a spade. And just calling something for what it is not rude. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's a way to have a conversation about Felipe's missteps or the WSL's missteps that is actually beneficial and moving the progress forward or moving things in the right direction. And I disagree. Like, Eric Logan got himself fired. There's nothing that we said about Eric Logan that led to his firing. However, everything that we said about him was an accurate assessment of his missteps that needed to be brought to light, and that the organization actually should have been looking at and making assessments on his performance based on. You know what I mean?
Totally. I mean, yeah, there was 300 or more than 300 comments on BeachGrit uh about the Filipe Toledo stepping away story, right? And for sure you have your, whatever 20% of he's a chicken, da 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 da. But it's also like which is also fine criticism, but there's also like real discussion happening about mental health, about,
Yeah.
this, that, or the other thing. I think it's easy to say negativity. Like all Sam George is doing is parroting the dumb mainstream line of like, people are critical on the internet because they're faceless and they don't have, they don't have to put their name by their avatar, okay? And so everybody there is negative and everybody's way tougher than they would be because they don't have to put their name, okay? Like it's all just garbage. Like if you actually get into comment boards, I think each is its kind of own ecosystem. And if you want to criticize a particular one, all fine and good. Like making the blanket statement, all commenters are negative. Like if Sam George cared or wanted, he could get into BeachGrit's comments, try to understand them as an ecosystem, and then make an assessment, right? If he felt the need to, okay, yeah, like, but it's not about negativity. This idea that everything is negative is dumb, A. B, criticism is an art. There is like art criticism is an art. Literary criticism is an art. Film criticism is an art. This idea of criticism where everything has to be positive. I read today, for example, have you seen trailers for the movie Madam Web, I think it's called?
No.
So Madam Web, I think, is part of the, I can't remember which Marvel, whatever, superhero
Yeah.
movie. I think it's based tied to Spider-Man, where it's like a girl Spider-Man thing. In any case, the movie got so roasted that I think it was the Daily Beast maybe that did like the best of, uh, and it was savage in a way that Filipe Toledo or Eric Logan, or like nobody could even dream of. I mean, it was ruthless but brilliant and honest and all of it, right? Where criticism does have a place. And to think that criticism equals negativity equals our society's toxic and we don't need this is,
Equals bullying.
yeah, equals bullying is just dumb baby thinking, which grow a brain, Sam George, like grow a ability to think critically, to both take barbs, which I think Sam George probably does well enough. Like I never see him like crying or, he does stupid stuff like try to go on the inertia and then make a veiled attack against, faceless commenters or whatever he's trying to do. But overall, he seems like he stands in the public space okay. But
Yeah.
like Philippe too, like, come on, man, take it. Like, take it
Well, not
and
only not only
don't
take it, but
whine.
there's not only take it, but there's so much you know, take it with a grain of salt, but there is insights there that you could
Sure.
actually learn from if you actually read
If
it
you
and
cared, I
tried
mean,
to
if you,
understand what the criticism was.
that's like everybody gets their, not, or not everybody, but I think that those who get their hackles raised and then build quick defenses fail to actually learn from what the
Correct.
criticism is saying. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's important to, I think, be able to sift through it and say, okay, this is just trying to be mean spirited. I
Yeah.
can disregard that. This one right here, yeah, it hurts. It hurts bad because it's true. And it's something that I need to catalog. Now, if I want to change it, I can. If I don't, obviously who's making me, but I need to be aware that this is a true statement about my work.
That's how I kind of felt after day two of the Felipe withdrawing and getting a couple of comments saying, like, you guys bullied him into retirement. My thought was, I'm actually okay with if that is partially true. Like if our criticisms were so accurate that it played out the way that I explained it earlier, and he
Yeah,
had to reassess, and now he's going to go back and address those things, take the
sure.
year off, focus on Chopu, and then come back next year stronger, better than ever. And by the way, his family got more time with him and he feels good about the investments that he made there, then you're welcome. You
I
know what I
will.
mean? Now, again, it's not bullying, it is a critical assessment that got to the core of a
That
matter for
might hurt.
somebody.
I mean,
But yeah, totally, it
that's
should hurt.
and like maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I like am not looking in the mirror close enough. But dear listener, if I went over the line with Filipe Toledo, I don't think I ever did. I feel like I challenged him on being a coward, which I think was absolutely true. He showed cowardice. I don't know that his heart is cowardly necessarily, or that if, you know, I don't know, we've talked about before on the movie or on this. Did we talk about it even last week? Force Majeure, one of the greatest movies
We
ever.
talked about it like 6 months ago.
Yeah, Force Majeure, where the father, for those who don't know and do not watch the Will Ferrell version, watch the original Swedish or Norwegian or whatever it is version, but where a avalanche happens and dad runs away from his family, and then the whole movie is about him first denying that he ran away, and then having to come to terms with running away. So like really about cowardice, right? So anyway, I don't know that Filipe Toledo would run away from his family in an avalanche. I do for a fact know that he doesn't paddle in at Chopu or Pipeline when it gets big, right? So he demonstrated cowardice. That's true. That's not bullying. And I think that is the whole realm of our discussion about him. I wasn't poking fun at his family. I wasn't, laughing about his whatever fashion choices. Like there was no other bullying about Filipe Toledo other than what he presented, what we saw
Yeah.
him do. And then it
Yeah.
wasn't even bullying, it was just discussing it. If
Yeah.
discussing shortcoming is bullying of a public figure, then I guess we're all bullies, David Lee Scales.
Well, didn't go too far with Fleet, but you might have gone too far with Kelly and his parenting.
But no, it's true. Like, let's be honest. Like he's
I
been
don't
on the
want to be
record
honest about that.
You don't? Like
Well,
that's
I don't
that
know
is a
anything.
fact.
The thing is, you can only make your assessment from a very, very far vantage point. So I have no idea what the inner workings are, and I honestly don't want to comment on it.
Kelly was an absentee father, and I think he's even admitted it. I think his daughter has at some point. I think their relationship is good now, if I recall, but there was discussion about Kelly not being there. Of course he wasn't
Yeah.
there. He was
Yeah.
traveling the world, winning world titles.
Well, the best comment section of the week on BeachGrit, funniest, came on an article that was just published, I believe, in the last 24 hours. Quote, WSL anoints UFC exec Joe Carr as the CEO 6 months after unexplained disappearance of former head Eric Logan.
This would have led the show. This news would have led the show in any other week. David Lee Scales, we have a new CEO.
Yeah, it really would have. But, to be honest, it's more of, I mean, if we felt like the WSL was not servicing the core fans and was maybe headed towards a cliff as a result of that, um, gosh, this is more of that. This
For
is
sure.
like absolute solidification of, oh no, they don't understand surfing at all. They're tripling down, and they're driving this thing straight into the cliff.
Except for with each new CEO, I like to roll out the red carpet on both the grit, beach grit, anywhere. Like, hey man, come on in. Water's warm. It's maybe a little toasty sometimes. It may be a little toxic sometimes, but like come in, see what you
Well,
see.
Well, let me read from Derek's article and a little bit from the press release from the WSL. Derek said Joe Carr has got a few miles under his belt. He helped steer Dana and Co. into a $4 billion buyout for the UFC, and lately was the founder and CEO of Nitro Circus parent company Thrill One. So, I mean, amazing accomplishments on this guy's resume, right? This
He
all
was the
looks.
CEO of Street League Skateboarding for a minute too, which got left out of all because I think he was fired.
Oh, do you know what he was fired for?
No, I wasn't for cause, I
Okay.
don't think.
Okay. Well, I mean, impressive resume across the board, right? He was also chief strategy officer for the WSL under Logan for 18 months in 2017 to 18, and president of the WSL for 7 months in 2019. In his new role at the WSL, or I think this is from the press release for the WSL, they said, in his new role at the WSL, Carr will lead the strategy and execution of the league's international business and spearhead further integration with the Kelly Slater Wave Co. As a lifelong sports fan, I've had the opportunity to witness the WSL's impressive growth over the last few years, said Carr. It felt like the perfect time to join the organization and help it further alter the landscape of sport through continued digital innovation and a commitment to its athletes. Few sports have such a global and passionate fan base and a lifestyle component that extends far beyond competition. I'm looking forward to driving the league's expansion efforts and making the WSL a globally recognized brand. With Carr's appointment, the WSL further underscores its commitment to further globalization and adds to its impressive roster of talented and experienced sports executives. Carr will be focused on fulfilling Goldschmidt's vision for expanding engagement around the world, cultivating athlete development programs and unique fan experiences, as well as leveraging the unparalleled opportunity the league has to further integrate the Kelly Slater Wave Company and its groundbreaking technology, as well as support the inclusion of surfing into the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games to evolve the landscape of competitive surfing around the world. End quote.
Boom. What we
So,
have, David, and I'm going to say again, Carr, come on in, man. Like, engage. I'm here. It's all, you got my number. Call me up. Let's chat.
well, so the problem, and Derek pointed it out in the first line of his article, is the real focus on the integration of the Kelly Slater Wave Co.
Sure.
I mean,
We're gonna have a Abu Dhabi tour stop. Mark my words, except for I've already called that the tour is going to be finished by next year. So, but if it's still going, if I was perchance wrong, we will have an Abu Dhabi event next year.
I would say it would be done this year as well, except this seems like a big investment from the WSL to hire Joe Carr, and presumably he has a big workload that he's going to be committing to. And
I
so
don't think it was that big
why
an
would you do
investment,
that?
let's just say.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think it was a big investment. No. I mean,
Okay.
for sure, what I think is that, and what I've heard, from decent sources is that Ziff is bundling to sell to a Saudi Arabian interest. And so this is probably like shoring up, whatever. Wave pool is what we have. This is like they've identified as the tour doesn't matter. It's the wave pool. The tour is kind of a loss leader for these wave pools or the Kelly Slater wave technology that we can sell to more municipalities that you, dear Saudi princes, can sell to whoever, right? This is a valuable asset because of these pools and because you're going to have international people looking at these pools based on blah, 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 and whatever. And then you get this little dog and pony show here with the professional tour too. But I reckon that, yeah, it's going to be that the whole point of this is to trim to sell.
All of the options, including the one you just stated, are awful for us, the fan.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like,
So
it's
it
good.
It's
only
what it
good for
is.
us. It's only good for us if it does that and it becomes a wave pool tour that's so bad that, at that point, then no professional surfing is better than that kind of professional surfing. At which point you would hope some either other billionaire or a, Red Bull steps up and does a really, pared down 4-wave slam. And that's our new professional surfing is you win, you got Pipeline, Chopu, Cloud Break, J-Bay, and then world title. That's your world title winner.
Yep. I think that's could happen right now. There's no reason why that couldn't happen out of the current ashes. My prediction, though, is if all of that does come true, Felipe's will come roaring back to life. His lion spirit will come roaring back to life off of his, mental health break, and he will join that wave pool tour quicker than you could possibly say Chopu.
Family, we were in the middle of playing blocks with his young children and hear that call and just knock that tower over. Sorry, kids, I'll be back in 9 months.
No, he won't. He'll say, "Hey, kids, you want to go to Abu Dhabi? Let's go." That's what he'll be saying. So a listener chimed in a couple of weeks ago, and it's been in my notes, but it's a perfectly fits in with our conversation today because the header for the email was entitled "Golden Poo Touchin'." David and Chaz, I feel it's safe to speak for the masses when I say we all realize by now that due to your efforts, many of the world's most pressing social, medical, and financial problems have been solved in short order, making room to move forward, working on the next great crisis. However, it seems the current existence of the WSL still elicits a general question of how and why from the two greatest surf journalists of the past 200 years. I have never been accused of being a critical thinker or financial wizard, but let me offer my 2 cents. now worth nothing due to inflation, on the greatest mystery of our 21st century. Since billionaire Dirk Ziff acquired the WSL, the face-bending bad decisions have seemed to accelerate year after year. From hiring a Midwest corporate vulnerable adult learning paddle jacker, I love paddle jacker, whose Superman cape is a wetsuit, to dressing up one of your commentators in a hard hat and a shiny blue color construction costume to endorse your main sponsor, a ladder company. As if those and all of the atrocities between aren't enough, now we have the pipe contest sold off, renaming our multiple time world champ, not even taking off at a horribly mistimed Super Bowl of our sport. It undoubtedly brings up the question we have heard for years of how stupid can you be? But if, sorry, but what if that is the exact question Ziff wants to hear? And the louder the question gets, reinforces his position to have his team of non-surfing executives doubling down on asinine ideas, the next one being cringier than the last. What are billionaires good at? Making money. Making capital gains comes with paying taxes. How do you reduce your tax bill? Losing on investments, having to invest capital from your profits into assets that are tanking to keep it afloat. So have we had it all wrong the whole time? Does Ziff need this sinking ship to sink faster to help protect his wealth? Is professional surfing as well as the surf fan just a tax write-off for him? Is Ziff basically shorting surfing into non-existence for his personal gain? Sad days. This also leaves us with only one question. Was Ziff involved with rollerblading? Thanks for all your efforts. Viva la revolution. Keep working. Thank you, Chris in New York.
Chris in New York, brilliant, and I think true for the first however many years, 5 years of Ziff's. How long has Ziff owned professional surfing?
I forget.
It's
I'm gonna
7.
say, yeah,
I think
something.
since 2015. So it's been 9 years. If I'm not mistaken, and again, I am no psychologist, but I'm also no financial expert. I think you're only allowed 7 years of write-off in a company.
Oh,
You can't have a company that's perpetually losing that you're dumping in. And so I do believe, yes, that Ziff did use the World Surf League as a on his tax ledger as a plus. I do believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, dear listeners, but I think that that has a window that closes. The government knows we're not just going to let you own professional surfing, a dumb thing like professional surfing, and then pour all your losses in there and never really pay taxes.
yeah. We did have an expert weigh in on this maybe 2 years ago or something and gave the exact explanation for how it would work. But I don't know how to find that email now today, so I wasn't able to
I'm
reference
pretty
it.
like I'm 100% certain, in fact, that this is not a
Yeah,
perpetual thing you can do, and that I do believe that Ziff has run out of time on his. So
right.
Ziff is now not able to use the World Surf League as a write-off. I mean, he
Which
can
is
write
why
off
he's
his,
why
yeah,
he's
why,
in sell mode,
yeah, fully. I mean, this Joe Carr move, and again, Joe, got my number. Call me up, man. I will extend you. Like this, I feel with all of them, I feel like I've given a fair. The only one I didn't give a fair shake to was Paul Speaker because he was a dumb shit from the gate. Paul Speaker came out right away and said, "Sir, pro surfing is going to be bigger than football." Like that was one of his first things he said. Paul Speaker was an idiot from the starting line, right?
Yeah.
I extended though. Hey, Soph, let me hear what you say. You and I went up and got poo-poo touched ourselves by Eric Logan and Joe Carr. Happy to sit down. Happy to hear. I'll let you know that I'm a little sullied by your World Surf League being such a complete fraudulent junk show over the years. So it's hard for me to believe that anything good is going to come from that bag of clowns. But call me up, man. I'll even drive up to the veterinarian offices to meet you. I will listen to the sound of dying dogs while we discuss.
The thing is, there's no point at this point, like
He-
there's so
I'll tell you
obviously
though,
doing something else and trying to be something else that
they are,
there's
but
no point in engaging.
but they are addressing, they are quaking, they're understanding. I truly feel they're finally, it finally broke through to them. And I think more so than Felipe quitting, uh, essentially, I think it was when Jesse had to stand in front of the camera and lie about why they called it off. Or, I mean, I guess she said her crap version of why they called it off. Did you see the Instagrammer that posted, like, went back into Surfline Rewind and like posted all of the epic rides or epic waves that day? It was just nonstop epic waves. That day was the day they called off for being too big. That thing right there. But the fact they addressed that says to me they're like worried. They are worried that they're actually losing their core audience, and that they don't yet have the Saudi dollar. They're gonna have to prove to somebody that there's some audience for this, and that audience is fleeing pretty quick, or they're worried that they will flee.
Yeah, but Joe Carr, I presume his job is to get that Saudi dollar as quickly as possible.
I mean,
And
it's going to be to
coming
shore up the
back and
pool. Yeah,
yeah, but coming back to interview with you to, appease us
he's going to
is
need.
not servicing that in one way, shape, or form.
They're going to have to show the Saudi, like they can sell on the promise of pool, a pool in every backyard and a surfboard in every garage or whatever. Like they can sell a dream or try. Even Saudis are like, petrodollar trillionaires are like, oh, let me see truly, like how many, let's see the engagement on this thing, right? Like they
Yeah.
actually need the fans at this moment, maybe more than ever, if they're actually looking to actively sell. And so I do believe that this would be the time for them to shore up. This would be the time to say, hey, okay, we hear you, fans. Like that's the crazy thing. None of the fans' desires or hopes or dreams are obscene or absurd in any way, shape, or form. They would not only be better for the product, they would be cheaper.
Yeah, but we're not the fans of what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like you're right with what you're saying, except what the Saudi whoever is going to be buying isn't us who are going to be watching an event at Pipeline. They're buying the idea of building out these wave
Fools.
pool. Yeah. And so,
But
and we're
but
not those fans. So what they're going
but
to
the,
go do is interview somebody who's standing on the sideline of the pool.
But they know full well though that, and they have all of that data from both surf ranches or the surf ranch pros or however many they've run. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody, no surf fan, no
They're,
non-surf fan.
they're,
Nobody
to-
wants to watch that.
no, they're totally masking the reality of that truth and selling something else.
I mean, that's the thing though, is
They
that
have to.
the Saudis with their financial advisors and whatnot, they're not going to look at this and say, well, it looks good to us. Looks like you
Yeah.
got, whatever bold roar numbers the World Surf League puts out are going to be scratched right through by anybody halfway competent. So unless Ziff is going to sell to somebody more incompetent than him, uh, they're going to have to figure it out in terms of actually shoring up a bit of their core audience, I think.
Well, we've given them enough, those non-surfing surfers, non-surfing arbiters of the surf world, enough of our time. So let's transition to the most core piece in all surf media, which is pros in the wild.
It's all core all the time here.
And I know I don't want to oversell it, but I liked this one a lot when I read this one. DLS and Chaz. This might go on a bit long, but it comes full circle, so bear with me. Just before the new year, I was with my wife's family home here at my wife's family's home here in the Czech Republic when the mother-in-law offered me a tea. This is really good, I thought. So I asked my wife what kind of tea it was, and she showed me the box. Moringa. I nearly blew the tea out of my nose as memories of a chance encounter I had with one of the pharaohs of our hobby came rushing back to me. The day was December 31st, 2016, New Year's Eve. A friend and I were living on the north shore of Kauai. And around this time, we were mostly homeless, sleeping at the beach and working odd jobs when we could. We had no plans for New Year's Eve. However, my friend's brother also lived on the island and had a big group of friends. So he invited us to join them for their New Year's Eve gathering at the end of the road on the west side of the island. You know the spot. After the obligatory stop at Costco for a few pizzas and other camping essentials, we were on our way to meet our new friend group out west. We quickly deciphered that we didn't have much in common with these folks. They were more of a new agey variety who attend cacao ceremonies and whose olfactory senses might get offended by the scent of L'Oreal shampoo. It was a Burning Man Kawaii edition. Om Shanti. Feeling a little dejected, we decided to hang back by the cars, sucking down suds, munching pizza, and eventually lighting off a few firecrackers because why not? There's nobody around for miles. This goes on for a little while, and at some point, I reach back into my car to grab a bottle of bourbon and more firecrackers when I turn around and I see a disheveled, homeless looking man about 10 feet from us and charging. Seemingly seemingly to have appeared from thin air, the man gets within 18 inches of my face and just lays into us, a full-on expletive-laden tirade, his wrath directed squarely at me and to a lesser degree, my buddy. What the blank are you guys doing? I drive all the blank way out here to get away from people, and here you are doing this? And on it went. My friend was complete deer in the headlights during the outburst, but at some point during the epic scolding, it dawned on me who this irate man was. No, I thought, it's not possible. When there was a gap in the profanities, I looked at the man calmly and I said, "Hey, I used to see you surfing swamis." The shouting stopped. He knew that I knew. The man took a few steps back, turned away to brush his hair behind his ears, turned back to face us. All of the rage from moments ago is now replaced by a waves of cosmic energy emanating from the man's Ram Dass smile and eyes that could see into my soul, cool as a cucumber. He stuck out his hand and he said to me, "Hi, I'm John Peck. Nice to meet you." At this point, I began apologizing profusely to the pipeline pioneer for my childish behavior. I had managed to turn the original surfing Buddha into from Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde. What could be worse? He too was gracious and apologized for losing his shit at us. It was next level, by the way. And we all had a good chuckle about it. We talked for a bit and I asked him what he was doing all the way out here. He said he was, quote, meeting some friends. He said, "What friends?" I thought. Yep, you guessed it. The friends he was there to meet were the same heady crew that we had fallen in with. Later that evening, after plenty of fire spinning and Caucasian tribal drumming, John made his way over to me and told me to cup my hands. He then dropped a dozen seeds into my hand. "What's this?" I said. "They're seeds from a moringa tree," he said with eyes wide open, as if sharing a secret to eternal life with me. "It's a superfood. Plant them at home and you can have your own moringa trees." Whoa. When I finally woke up on January 1st, I unzipped my tent, looked to the beach. The first thing I saw in 2017, John Peck, completely alone on the beach in Kauai, no audience, no partners, going through an elaborate yoga routine with Makaha Point in the distance behind him. Majestic. He then paddled out solo and surfed a few waves from the outside all the way to the sand before calling it a session. It was exactly as I had imagined from the stories and lore surrounding his persona, feeling truly blessed by the gods to have witnessed it. When my friend's brother, the one who invited us to the gathering, was talking to me on the drive back, I told him what far out interaction I had had with a surfing legend. "Surfing legend?" He looked at me quizzically. "We've known John for years, and I just thought he was some older hippie cruising around the island." And so it goes with John Peck, the penetrator. Keep Dr. Scholl.
Epic, epic, epic. You know, as you were reading, as I was sitting for story hour, mesmerized, it's beautiful, thinking all of these are so beautiful and most of them are so well written. We should publish a Frozen in the Wild like coffee table edition or something. But it doesn't even have to be that grand. It could just be a book.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the other idea we had a while back was having them animated.
Yeah, exactly. I still believe, yeah, we've got to do this. Like they're too good. We have enough now. We have like a collection of proper good ones, like this one and the what's the Honolulu Bay one? Who was that? The
Bethany
surfer.
Hamilton and Oh no, it was
The Bethany one too, though, but also
no, but it
the
was Rochelle Ballard.
Rochelle Ballard, exactly. Like there's all of the, I mean, we would have a whole multiple chapters, Tom Curran alone, but like we have so many of these good ones now. I think we got to put them somewhere. They
I
can't
know.
just live in the podcast archives.
Remember, yeah, I totally agree. Remember the Laird Hamilton
Yeah.
on the SUP taking
Yes.
off on the nose and doing the helicopter
Yes.
360
That
down
was
the
one of the earlier ones.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
good.
yeah,
Yes.
epic one. But yeah, great to see these figures too, like John Peck, whose name doesn't ever get mentioned really, but holds such an important place in surf's history.
And thank you for sharing. Like this is especially it's the pros in the wild are properly the antidote to grumpy localism. Like we can spout off on Toledo being a cis and on the World Surf League driving it off a cliff and on and on and on. And then just sit back and be like,
Yeah,
Shanti.
exactly. All right. Well, thank you for your contributions, listeners. Keep them coming. Surfsplendor@gmail.com, of course, or listener line. I should find that number and read that out. Or go to, go to surfsplendorpodcast.com, get the listener line number. Okay. 760-237-0150 if you want to
There we
call
go.
in anything. All right. Well, let's go to commercial break, pay some bills. Then we will be back with Barrel or Not. Chaz, we're back.
So exciting.
Man, so last week we totally blew it. Obviously, we did the show midweek on Wednesday, and we forgot Valentine's Day was coming up. The Super
We didn't
Bowl.
warn how
Dude,
many of our dear listeners did we just straight let down?
we're supposed to give them advice.
This is like
Blew it.
really truly you're supposed to remind me, and in so doing, our listeners get reminded. Usually is how this goes.
Well, I
Did you succeed?
was the beneficiary, actually. Lauren, the reason why we recorded early in the week was Lauren booked a surprise Valentine's weekend getaway to Catalina for us.
Catalina's I mean, I don't want to talk about Catalina. I want to treat Catalina like I treat the Isle of Maui.
Nice,
I mean,
nice smoke screen.
yeah, like, I mean, Avalon is what you just stayed in Avalon, right?
Yeah.
And Avalon is fine. It's great. It's weird. So weird. I think the suicide rates amongst young people in Avalon are higher than anywhere else in
I've never
California
heard
or
that.
something.
That's
Yeah.
scary.
I mean, it's weird, right? Like I think it's isolated and it's weird. But aside from that, there's beautiful architecture. But when you start sailing around Catalina, that's when you really, really, really have some fun.
So, for listeners who aren't from Southern California, they're probably not fully aware of it, but it's an island, 60-minute boat ride off of Los Angeles and Orange County. And like literally 8%, not even 8%, a tiny percentage of it has been developed. All the rest of it is preserved. There's buffalo on the island, lots of interesting history, but it was also purchased fairly early on. It was developed once or twice by a couple of different people and then purchased early on by the Wrigley family who owns Wrigley Gum. And because of that, they've documented and saved and actually built a museum, all of the development and the history of the island. So nothing's been lost to time, like you can kind of see everything. And they've also preserved everything and prevented the development of it. So it's this really interesting little enclave of a community that isn't far from a main metropolis, but is just far enough away to where you take that 60-minute boat ride and you feel like you're in the Caribbean or some
You're
some
in
different
another world.
country. Yeah. But so I agree with you. I had never been impressed by it. I thought it was weird, kind of novelty. I've been maybe 3 or 4 times in my life prior, but I think I went during the summer months when it was
Yeah.
just overrun. Going in the wintertime was amazing. It was
Peaceful.
completely empty, totally serene. We had
Was
the
stuff
place
open?
to ourselves. Yeah, the restaurants, and there's great restaurants now
There are.
too.
There's some good restaurants.
So it's like we had this incredible hotel room. They upgraded us for some, probably just because it was empty.
Because
So we
nobody's
had this
there.
incredible hotel room, and we'd have nice meals. We got on the buffalo tour, went and saw the interior of the island, saw the buffaloes, went hiking, like got our outdoor kind of energy fix in, and then
Did you go to the southern half of the island that they're strip mining?
No,
Such a
what are
weird.
they doing?
They're just strip mining it. It's so
For
bizarre.
what?
Catalina's probably rocks for LA. Who knows? Like
Huh.
the whole southern half of or southern corner, I guess it'd be the southeast corner, is legit just a strip mine. They're just hacking the island off.
You can see that obviously from the sailboat.
I mean, you could see it from like you could see it from San Diego. Like
Really?
on bright days, if you look at Catalina, it's just a big cliff on that side.
Interesting.
Yep, weird.
Well, we did do a submarine, so we got to see
Oh,
the
did did
underbelly.
did you do the submarine in the dive park?
I don't think so now.
Catalina has a dive, so it's right off the casino for any divers. There's still mosquitoes. Heck, got you. Uh, the yeah, there's a dive park there. So in COVID, we sailed out there and did it. Obviously, nobody's there, but the marine life in that dive park is insane. It's like literally right offshore, but it really drops right there. So I think it gets down to about 90 feet maybe. But I
Okay.
was down there, there was like giant grouper that were like as big as Volkswagen Beetles down there and all kinds of stuff. It's
Crazy.
phenomenal.
Yeah, in their museum, they show some of the fishing exploits and the size of stuff that they catch is unbelievable. That passage between the mainland and the island is 3,000 feet deep. It's like
Yeah.
the deepest passage, I think, in the world, they
That
said.
that's where they dumped a bunch of I think if I'm not mistaken, like a whole ton of World War II munitions, I think it is, that
Really?
are down there. Yeah, that is just like it's like a absolute toxic dump down there.
Wow.
Yep. Good job.
Incredible.
Good job,
Yeah,
California.
fascinating history.
Yeah.
Well, I also, speaking of what's been going on in the last week since I've seen you, I spent way too much time in the car this week, and all I could think about was getting my weekend vans.
Oh, yes. Weekend vans.
I literally went to San Diego one day. I had to go to Ventura yesterday. I came back during traffic and it was literally like 2.5 hours. And I'm like, you know what would be better right now is getting out of the driver's seat and walking into the back and getting a drink out of the cooler.
No kidding. No kidding. I mean, yeah, I had this discussion. It was with the wife maybe, but like driving down the street talking about the difference between like a camper, versus like a shell on your like a kitted out shell on your pickup versus a trailer versus whatever versus a Sprinter, right? And yeah, like in a both the camper whatever and the Sprinter, like the fact that your family could be back there enjoying themselves while you are traveling, or you could be back there enjoying yourself while you were traveling is, I mean, I don't know why. For those, yeah, can't beat them, join them, get a Sprinter van.
I'm not advocating for this illegal maneuver on the behalf of weekend vans. However, if you are in rush hour traffic, stop and go, stop largely, swap wives with your, or swap wives,
Swap wives.
swap seats with your wife. You know what I mean? Like if you're sitting there driving, you got to pee, you got whatever you got to do, get in the back. She can jump in the driver's seat
No
and take
worries.
a break, man.
I mean, yeah, no, the never has the time been more right nor more ripe for a weekend van.
Well, weekendvans.com or on Instagram at weekendvans, they'll build you a kitted out Sprinter camper van, or if you have one, they will retrofit yours for you. But the greatest news is maybe you just want to try one out. You don't want to quite commit to the purchase. They rent them now. And one of the rental vans they just finished, he said, I have access to it as of February 20th. So Tuesday, it will be ready for my possession to take and make it into a podcast van. So I'm thinking maybe next Friday we could do a
Okay,
podcast in the weekend van.
fantastic. I cannot wait. I'm excited about this. I'm going to mark it on my calendar because this sounds fun, David Lee Scales. Where are we going to do it? Are we going to do it in?
I'll drive down and grab you and then we can go to the beach maybe.
Great.
I was
Swing
thinking
on
like,
by.
yeah, we can I don't know, we can maybe keep it casual the first time, but then I'm thinking we can be strategic and like go surf with Joel Tudor, and then Joel Tudor can hop in the van and do a podcast with us, or
I,
Rob Machado.
I like it. I like it all.
Yeah. So we'll work it all out. But thank you, Weekend Vans. We appreciate the support and building the studio. Huge.
Massive.
Okay. Barrel or nah? Gifting Valentines to someone who other than your romantic partner.
Oh, this is a major one, David Lee Scales. And I'm going to say it's a giant nah past the age of 12. A
Oh,
nah past the age of 12.
this
Like,
didn't exist for me up until maybe this year, maybe
who
last year, but
who were you
for sure.
who were you expected to give a Valentine to?
Well, that's what my fear is for next year is that I'm going to be the one who's expected. But Lauren's writing Valentines to all of our parents, sending them in the mail.
Oh
She,
no. Lauren's
you,
Lauren's way off piste here. You got to rein that in, man. You got to say,
no,
hey, nobody does this.
she's not the only one though. I've seen
Who?
everybody else doing it too. And so now I feel like next year I'm going to be obligated to get something for my mom.
No, no, there's nothing more that the card industry, whatever. The fake, I mean, not that Valentine's Day is a fake day, right? We all love and all that, but it should be simple. Uh, Nothing more than the Costco and or not them, I suppose, then what? Target and
Hallmark.
yeah,
Hallmark.
Hallmark, all these, but nobody gives a Hallmark card anymore. So to call them like Hallmark, I think
Papyrus.
yeah.
That's the
But
company that we buy now.
that's what they want. That's what exactly they're like, yes, Lauren, you're doing the right thing. Everybody gets a Valentine. A Valentine for you. No, 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 no. This thing is it's personal, it's simple, it's sexual. That's what you should tell her. You should say, hey, Lauren, Valentine's Day is sexual. Are you sexually coming on to my mother?
Exactly. This feels incestuous at this point.
Yes.
And by the way, forget about you don't even have to buy an actual gift to overspend. Those cards are like $8 a card now. So if you buy 5 of them, you're in for $40 just in cards alone.
I've had like some rolls, and of course, we all mail less and less and less. So I've had like a roll of forever stamps sticking around. I think, what was this was funny, funny little memory. Remember when Trump was all pissy at the post office or something and talking about how he's going to defund the post office, something like that. It was like early days. And so
I
whenever,
do remember defund, yeah,
yeah, when was Trump president?
2016.
So this would have been like, yeah, 2016-ish, so a long time ago. And for some reason, libs were like, the way we get back at him is buying a ton of forever stamps, right? And
I do
so,
remember that.
yeah, and so my beautiful and loving and wonderful far left wife bought so many stinking forever stamps that they're just like, there's rolls of like a burglar will someday break into the house here and not find anything of real value, but find like forever stamps and think, boom, because so all to say, I haven't checked or have been unaware of the price of stamps for years now, right? Just
Yeah.
years and years. Uh, I was at the post office. Some dude was trying to mail something, and I heard the post dude say, I'm gonna get it wrong, but I want to say it was like 74 cents or something for a stick here. I gotta Google it.
Well, because when they introduced that forever stamp with that Trump thing, I think it was 41 cents.
Yeah.
So that's a
So,
huge
so,
increase.
so which is a great investment. So all those
It
lefties
is
out
a
there,
great dude. That's a huge investment. I mean, a huge increase.
it's like
She
if
should have bought $1 million worth.
she should have. Let's see. Price of stamp. This is worth it. Postage rates. Oh, come on. Don't give me that bull crap. 68 cents.
Wow.
68 cents for a regular stamp.
So she would have made 50%
50%. It did
increase.
make. I mean, I think there's still forever stamps just everywhere around this house. The problem is I don't know what the black market on forever stamps is, but there's got to be one.
Just sell them. Yeah, sell them for 60 cents.
Yeah. There's
The buyer saves 8 cents and your wife makes 20 on her 41-cent purchase.
was a great idea. But yeah, 60. So all to say though, back to the Valentine's for nobody except your lover, let's bring it back here. You don't give Valentines to anybody but your lover or who you want to be your lover. So no Valentines for your kids unless you're a creep. No Valentines for anybody, no Valentines for coworkers, again, unless you're being creepy. Like only for your lover or somebody you want to bed.
Under the age of 12, as you said, it's all fair game. It's all platonic.
Yep.
But I agree with you. After that, it sends a very direct message. And that message currently has been muddled. And we need to right this ship for 2025.
We need to get it back. So, dear listeners, help us make Valentine's Day sexual again. That's gonna Mavs. Mavs. Mavsa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mavs
I like it.
does.
Doesn't quite have a ring, but I like just no need to abbreviate it. Okay. That leads us to our second barrel or not coming in from a listener. Hi, David and Chaz. I recently gave birth to my first child. Of course, me and his dad are hoping the little one will develop a love for the outdoors just like we have. I see my fellow outdoor enthusiasts post photos of their newborns on surfboards. The little worms being awkwardly laid out on cold surfboards, their eyes barely open. You can read the discomfort from being subjected to their parents' dreams and projections on their little fat faces. As a surfer for 12 years, I've been tempted to photograph in my eyes, extremely handsome son with my surfboard or mountain bike, but something tells me that I shouldn't. In a world with war and global wars, warming raging, this seems like an appropriate subject to deliberate on. Barrel or nah. Greetings, by the way, from a new surf mom from the Netherlands.
Congratulations, dear surf mom. And from the Netherlands makes it even better. I'm gonna be real honest. When I first heard I'm a listener to your show and I just gave birth, it took me 3 clicks of the mind to get over to a woman. Like I was initially thinking this guy transitioned and got pregnant. Oh yeah, it's a woman.
And then
Uh,
a guy who's like so in touch with his
yeah,
femininity and his
that
partnership
he
that he's
said
identifying as.
exactly. But I'll say thank you so much for listening. And you came to the right place, of course, because here's what you do. Guaranteed, you identified and are exactly right that early childhood trauma is caused by laying a beautiful, fresh baby on a surfboard. What you do is you lay that beautiful, fresh baby and Instagram it too, because we have to have this for posterity, because it has to go into your beautiful, fresh baby's cerebral cortex. You lay them on something and photograph them lovingly on it that you hate. So you take your baby and lay it on a sup with have it gripping a paddle, right? And then click. You basically cured your kid from ever supping. You take your baby and you lay it upon a longboard soft-wheeled skateboard. Click. That baby will never longboard soft wheel skateboard again. Any activity that you actively dislike, that's the place to put your newborn. Take a picture. You are paying it forward into their life forever. They will not take up that thing, guaranteed. You put your baby in disco clothes with like a flashing disco ball above them. Click. Look at my little disco darling. Kid ain't
Man,
never gonna dance.
man, this is excellent advice, and I
Yep.
really feel like I missed an opportunity here.
I
Is
think
he
it's not
at
too
two
late.
years? He's two
It's a
years old
little
now.
too late because he'll like mess it up. Austin will
He
like,
also has opinions already. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
he
I'll
won't like,
present something into the scenario, and he'll be like, "F
ain't
that! I'm not
happening.
posing with that." Yeah.
Yep, exactly. You did miss it. But yeah, imagine if all surfers could take their babies and photograph them on SUPs, the SUP population in a generation would be half as much as it is today.
There's got to be a photo of young Felipe at Pipeline.
Yes, so true. I mean, Papa Toledo was a pro, was he not?
He
Wasn't he a
for sure got him to Hawaii at a young age and like posed him in front of a big day in December and snapped a
It's
photo.
so true. This is where it all came from. We've
Yeah.
identified. Felipe, share the photo.
Yeah.
It'll help your process.
I think it's part of the cleansing process.
It has to be. It has
Yeah.
to be like if you any good psychologist would say, we have to go all the way back to the root. That's the root. Little
Yeah.
Felipe naked on the sands of Pipeline when it's pumping out the back.
Yeah. So now our female listener, new mother in the Netherlands, has got to start a list of all the
Yeah.
things that she wants to ward off for
Yep.
her young boy.
Yep.
Because
And start mowing them down. I think it starts with sup, but take it from there.
it's risky business though, because stand-up paddling is adjacent to surfing, and there's a possibility that some wires could get crossed in the baby's brain. You don't know how that's going to pan out. Like they might just wholesale discard all water sports at that point.
It is a risk, but would you rather have a child who didn't participate in water sports at all or Eric Logan? That's what you got to look and ask yourself.
It's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna need time to marinate on that. Okay. I'm just afraid of getting that poo-poo touch, dude. That's the thing. Like, that's why I don't want to spend too much time. I want to marinate on it, but then I don't because
You and I already have it.
contaminate.
You and I have been poo-poo touched. I think so. You and I, for those who have watched, of course, the HBO hit show, The Last of Us, or is that what it is? The Last of Us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch The Last of Us?
No.
Where so the whatever show is about fungus, mushrooms basically taking over the entire, they turning everybody into zombies, right? Everybody gets turned into zombies. It's like this mushroom that turns people into zombies, then they bite you and then you're zombified, whatever. One lady was pregnant and the zombie came and bit her while she was giving birth. And so she cut the umbilical cord, but she was still bitten. So she turned into a zombie, but the baby was immune. You and I got bit by Eric or touched by Eric Logan's poo-poo touch when we were all kind of babies. And so you and I are immune to the poo-poo touch. We're the only ones, I think, immune to Eric Logan's poo-poo touch.
Okay, that's good. We have the antidote.
We do. We are the anecdote. That's the problem in this show. People want to get her and like cut her brains out or whatever to use. So people are going to want the Clippers, more likely than not, are going to want to quarantine us and like draw our blood.
You know what? If Felipe came asking for help, I wouldn't help him. But if the Clippers come, I'm gonna say open that checkbook, baby.
If Kawhi Leonard comes and says, "Hey, David Lee, I need a quick blood transfusion before the game. I need to switch all my blood with all of yours," then I mean, yeah, I'm gonna pay you $2 million. It'd be okay. You'd reap your liver and all that. You can handle the poo-poo touch. I can handle the poo-poo touch. Kawhi Leonard can't handle the poo-poo touch.
We got exposed long and hard to that poo-poo touch, and it took us down for one podcast.
It did.
And then there was some comedy that came out of it afterwards, but we bounced back.
We're still alive and kicking.
Got the full dose.
Yep.
Got the full
poo-poo dose.
Yeah. And by the way, just play it safe and go to drinkag1.com/surf and then drink a bunch of that. You're fine at that point. I drank mine today. It's gotten me through everything. Okay. Final barrel or not? Journaling.
Ooh, this is a solid one.
So I'll give you a backstory if you want to think about it for a second. This was not a Valentine's gift for my mother, but she gave it to me this morning. Didn't mention Valentine's Day, so I think we're safe here. But she just was like, "Hey, if you don't want this, give it back to me and I'll give it to somebody who would appreciate it."
Yeah.
That's literally what she said.
Yeah.
It's called Gratitudes and Beatitudes. It is, as you can see, a very beautiful, beautifully bound little journal. And there's, I think, for each given day, February 16th, you open it and it has 5 years worth of lines penciled out. So you write in the year today and you write down something that you're grateful for. There's a prompt on the other side of the page. So you read the prompt and then you write down something on today with today's year on that page, something that you're grateful for. And then next year, you use the line below it for that same exact page. And then over the course of 5 years, you have, everything that you were grateful for on February 15th or 16th or whatever for 5 years. You get to reflect back on it.
I'm all for it. I think that's a great practice. I think anything that makes you pause and pull out a pencil and a paper book anyway is great. A great practice. And I suppose with the idea being that in 5 years' time, when you're getting pulled over for something rather else and you're rage filled, that you look at your gratitude and beatitude and flip to that day real quick and just think of all the good things that happened. This is okay. This is just a hiccup on the road. This speeding ticket I'm about to get.
Yeah. I mean, just the practice of, I think journaling as a general point is good, but practice of writing down something that you're grateful for fosters gratitude.
Sure.
Like if you take time every day to think about it and then actually write it down, you just then feel more grateful, which is a good thing.
And I think feeling more grateful then begets like things to feel grateful about. I think a positive like outlook and all this kind of stuff is generally, not that I believe that karma and blah, 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 but I think if you're like looking for the good and stuff, then you see the good stuff.
Yep. I agree.
I'm barrel.
Ending on a high note. Thanks,
We
Mom.
are. After thank you, and so thankful that it wasn't a Valentine's gift, because then you'd have to question. You'd have more questions than answers.
Yeah, I have something that I'm not grateful for that I would write as my first entry. Um, but the funny thing is, she's said that. She's like, if you're actually going to use it, keep it. If not, give it back to me and I'll give it to somebody who will appreciate it. And I opened the gift and I saw what it was and I go, all right, I'm going to be honest, Mom. I
It's not me.
really want to be this guy.
Yeah.
Like I want to be the guy that uses this journal. I don't know I have the discipline to follow through, but I am going to make an entry today and I'm going to try my best tomorrow. And she's like, look, it only takes a minute. I'm like, I don't think you understand. There's like 30 things that only took a minute yesterday that
Yep.
are on my list today that I still haven't gotten to.
That are stacked on the 30 things that take a
Yeah,
minute from the day before.
exactly. And so this is now 31 on today, plus the 30 from yesterday. It's now 61st in line.
Because with that too, it's one of those things that you can't wake up in the morning and do it before you get out of bed thing. Because you actually have to, like, I would imagine it's a thing you have to do at the end of the day. Because you have to think about that day and the gratitude, something grateful in that day, right?
Yeah.
I would
Exactly.
imagine.
Yes.
Which
Yeah.
it's
Something
the
I'm feeling
stuff,
grateful for today.
it's the stuff at the end of the day that you're supposed to do is the stuff that is clearly the stuff that's on the chopping block first.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like the push-ups I was supposed to do today and the emails I was
Exactly.
supposed to reply to.
Exactly.
For anybody who DMs and doesn't get a reply, this is why. It's not your fault. It's not that I didn't appreciate it. It's on the list of things to do.
On the list.
But I'm too busy talking about Felipe and getting sidetracked by surf news. So it is what it is.
It's clearly and obviously a magnetic conversation, Filipe Toledo. Filipe Toledo got talked more about this past week, or I guess it's probably been 3 weeks total, than he had in his entire life up until now.
No such thing as bad publicity, man.
You'd think. I mean, he could turn this. He could be stinking the Rocky Balboa, real life Rocky Balboa. He could be Eddie the Eagle. He could be Rudy. He could be like off the top of my head, I could keep going on Ashes to the Mountaintop sports stories. And Filipe Toledo could like etch his name. You don't even have to win. You just have to show effort. Look at this stinking Jamaican bobsled. Cool runnings. They didn't win Olympic gold. They went out and gave an effort. Filipe, go out and give an effort.
He is setting up the ultimate redemption story. He is digging this giant hole so that he can trampoline out of it.
And he has all the skill. I mean, that's the thing. He has all the skill. He has all the money. He has all the time. He has everything to do this. Like,
so we took the bait. And
I would love if he was just giggling in a back room, thinking, you guys think you're all so smart. Would you better do? Felipe should do this. I backed you in a corner. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. Now, Filipe Toledo winning an Academy Award.
I'm here for it. I'm going to make that as my entry today. I am grateful for Felipe and the journey that he has taken me on emotionally. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you, weekendvans.com. Thank you, drinkag1.com/surf. And Chaz, anything else going on that you want to thank?
I don't think so. I'm just grateful. Grateful for Felipe, grateful for Ricardo Toledo, grateful for Felipe's kids, grateful for Kelly Slater's daughter. Got a lot of gratitude.
It's like Thanksgiving around here. All right. Well, until next week.
Keep work.
All right. Thank you very much.